I think it's going to come back to the same systematic problem that they seem to have is once you've done it, you've done it. And once you've got out of it what you need, why? Why go back? And it's the same thing that I think they had with the ancient city. I don't know, it just seems to me to be a trend of we have new features, but it's not features that have a long life, if that makes sense.
Right. I can see what you're saying. Hello and welcome to Minecraft Lab, where we explore, experiment, and theorize about all things Minecraft. I am Miner Thoughts, and with me is a man who goes hard for wood in the Trails and Tales update. Dramatic pause. The Troj.
You are getting very creative with your introductions for me, sir. It's amazing.
Well, that introduction is a bit of a teaser for something that you shared with me. I don't know if you want to plug it or just keep it a secret, but that intro was a bit of a teaser. I can't keep secrets.
I assume you're talking about my Minecraft 1.20 update hardcore series coming to the Troj channel on YouTube.
Yeah, excited.
Done. I see what you did there. Very clever.
Yeah.
Very true. But I guess that also is a nice segue into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, speaking of Tales and Trails, or is it Trails and Tales? I forget.
Trails and Tales. There we go.
Okay.
Well, the 1.20 must be getting close to release because we are now, at time of recording, up to pre-release 4. And
yes.
They are only bug fixes. So that generally means we're very close.
Well, who knows how many pre-releases we could have. It could be many more, but it's winding down. It's definitely winding down. Then we'll see release candidates and no release date yet.
We know that when it generally gets to this level, when you're up to this many pre-releases, it's not far away.
And they're doing them quicker and quicker. I mean, you got 3 and 4 in the same day.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, it must be getting very close. We were thinking in terms of interrealms, we had in our mind, maybe July, and then we update maybe August, September, something like that. I don't think it's going to come before then. I really do.
Right. And we're like, emergency meeting. We need to talk about this.
What do we do? Caught with our pants down. But what's your thoughts, Miner? We obviously know everything that's coming now with 1.20. I know a little while ago we did a podcast where we talked about our favorite things at that time, but now we're seeing more of a finished product, so to speak. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, but in your opinion, does it feel finished? Like a finished product? You feel like there's things missing? I still think there are things that they could still do. And one of our previous podcasts, we talked about Minecraft leaks, and there have been people that have also said the same thing. I guess there are things that were released by Roger Badgerman that we won't see, or it just, I don't know. Maybe they pulled the plug on that because of the leaks. Who knows? But it still feels like there's maybe some things missing.
I think that's actually, and we've talked about this before, I think that's actually a Minecraft thing now. Like something's missing. And, that's what we talked about with the Wild update with the ancient city.
Mm-hmm.
Something's missing. Now, because of the hardcore series and those that have watched me on Twitch, where I streamed the live recording of the hardcore, I've played a little bit with the archaeology now. While I find it addictive, I think it's going to come back to the same systematic problem that they seem to have is once you've done it, you've done it. And once you've got out of it what you need, why? Why go back? And it's the same thing that I think they had with the ancient cities is once you go down the ancient cities a couple of times and you found your music discs, you found your shards, you found your Swift Sneak and all that, once you've got everything you need, what makes you need to go to them again? Now, I understand that this whole, what do we call Tales and Trails or whatever it is? Trails and Tales is about getting us out there to explore these new structures and the structures in general. And I can honestly say in the hardcore series, for the first time ever, and I only recorded episode 1, for the first time ever, I've seen an under the water where the drowns spawn, but whatever they call it, those ruins. I was excited to see one for the first time ever because the loot in those chests are generally You don't usually,
Right.
well, I don't anyway, I don't bother with them. But now it's like, oh, there's one, let's go and do some archaeology on it. So they've succeeded in that, in making us need to go search out these things for a different feature or get the armor trims or whatever. But then it comes back to, again, once you've got all your armor trims, once you've done everything you need to do out of archaeology, what then? What next? Why do I go back and do it? I guess with archaeology, there's an argument you could make that, if you keep wanting to get the shards and make more pots, you need to keep going. Fair comment.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I've got enough pots? Because those pots don't suit every aesthetic for every sort of build you need. It just seems to me to be a trend of, we have new features, but it's not features that have a long life, if that makes sense.
Right. I can see what you're saying. Like, especially with the pottery shard, that's the proper name. They're not renewable. So yeah, you're going to have to go out and search for them to continue to get them if you want a lot. If you're on S&P and that's something that you want to sell, you're going to do a lot of searching. Armor trims, which we haven't talked about, but you duplicate the armor trims?
It's expensive, but you can, yes.
Okay, so you can duplicate them. So once you get the armor trims from each different place, there's no reason to go back out. Now, what I like about your hardcore series, that can be a challenge to go out and get those things, to get all the trims or all the shards, anything like that. But in a long single player world, in your an SMP, once you've done it, or as a group or whatever.
I think that the archaeology is probably closer to getting to something that you need to keep doing, because you keep getting these clay pots or whatever they're called. You do need to keep doing it. So I think it's on the right track. But again, you don't need it for every build that you're going to do. So how often are you actually going to go out and chase these things down? Yeah, I don't know.
If I'm being honest, it kind of worries me for the future of Minecraft.
This update, I think, is a good update in terms of that it's added actually a lot. So when you actually look at the wiki and you go through it,
Right.
2 new types of wood, which is pretty cool. And then even within the bamboo, you got variations in that more than actually you do with others. You've got a little bit for the redstoners with the calibrated sculk sensors, and the chisel bookshelves. You got the aesthetic stuff like the hanging signs and the decorated pots, new plants. And I like to see that the pitcher plant actually has is it the pitcher plant? I read this before. One of the plants actually has a use.
Well,
Torch flower has a use.
Torch flower.
Yeah. You can actually make suspicious stew, giving the player night vision, which I actually think is very valuable.
Right. But there's also, one of them gives you cyan dye. I can't remember if it's the pitcher plant or the torch flower. Pitcher plant.
Yeah.
Which is a lot better, for people that like to use cyan.
Yeah, and the torch flower
So they don't
gives you orange dye.
People that like to use cyan a lot, you don't have to build 2 separate farms to get the one color. So I think that's an added thing. I went back and listened to a live stream with a big popular Minecraft redstoner. His name is Purplers. And I guess King V Dogs had popped into his live stream, and he was talking about all these things, about taking things that are existing and giving them a new purpose, and going into like the calibrated sculk sensors. They really went in depth about talking about how those work, and a lot of it's like over my head. I'm gonna have to mess around with them to fully figure out how those things work. And I think from what King B Dogs was saying, they're not exactly sure. I think the consensus is those feel a little bit unrefined or unfinished in a way. So they'll probably still continue to tweak those, just like they did with the original Skulk sensors. So
I like the fact that they're going back and looking at stuff that's existing and giving it purpose. I do like that. And I think that really started with probably 1.16. where you had to have gold to go into the nether. You know, no one ever bothered with gold really. But then all of a sudden it had a use. It was something useful. Like with the bartering and the, having to wear gold armor became, a valuable resource now. The bartering farms are actually one of the best farms in the game, just the amount of stuff you can get out of it, which is amazing.
Exactly.
So I do like that idea, and I do like that's where they're going. And I think we identified that in season 1 of our podcast, that they were definitely heading down that line of adding uses for things. But I think for me, it still comes back to every update that they've had since. So in terms of the wild update, I can't really say caves and cliffs because, that's a good update. There's like the generation and all that. But where they're adding like new features into the game, such as ancient cities and stuff like that, they're starting to feel like they haven't taken it that next step, at least not yet, on what is next. And I don't think the updates, so the wild update and this update, is not really updates that are going to grab people and go, oh, I need to come back to Minecraft and test this out. I think 1.16 was, and I think probably the terrain generation, caves and cliffs, I think that probably got people going, let's go and have a look at what this is all about, this new thing. I don't think this is a bad update. I actually think in terms of the amount of stuff that we've got, and if you take a look at all the bug fixes and that they've done on the back end of the game between releases as well, which technically I think should be classified in this as well, it's a good update. But is it one that's grabbing people and saying, come back to the game and try it now, like 1.16 did?
Right. They're wanting to connect with the community more, but at the same time, they're still standoffish, in my opinion.
I think they need to do an update that is a big wow. I do think they need to. Like 1.16 for me was, I started in 1.15. So yes, I'm a baby when it comes to Minecraft. I very quickly learnt playing it that the nether was just a waste of time and a waste of space because it was just so boring. And then I can honestly see that 1.16 was a wow factor. Like this is like a whole new world. It's a whole new dimension. Yeah, okay, it's still the nether, but it's, something different. It's basically a new thing that added so much new stuff to it. So I think soon they need to do like another big thing. I'd like to see an end update.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's what I'm pushing for.
But in terms of 120, Minor, because people are probably hear us talk about 120. What's your favorite? Now that we know everything, what's your favorite?
Definitely armor trims.
Definitely the armor trims.
Yes, I will actually. I mean, it gets me excited to get out and explore and find, a collection. And there's just so many variations you can do with them. And I think of Ree, how she could use them in her armor stand magic. If there's anything that she can do with the new armor trims. So that's what I'm most excited about. And like we just had a recent PvP event and it was very difficult to tell each other apart. So I think if we have another one of those with different armor trims and other little tweaks we could do, it'll make it a lot easier so we're not shooting our own teammates.
Yeah, lessons learned with that one. Events, you always learn from an event.
Yeah, armor trims is my thing I'm most excited about. What are you most excited about?
I know I've been hard in the first 15 minutes of this podcast so far. I know I've been hard on it. But you know what? Played in it now a little bit and looking at it, I actually like the whole thing. I think it is actually a good update in the terms of that it adds so many new things like aesthetic for builders. There's a little bit for the redstoners. I like the fact that they're encouraging the exploration because that's something you and I were really keen on when we first doing our theories about where are they headed with this. And we actually said, we think it's going to be something that's going to be getting you out there and to explore things. And that came to fruition. So I like that. I like they're adding stuff for aesthetics. They're adding stuff for redstoners. They're adding stuff for builders. And they're trying to get people out into the world to explore this blocky world that we call Minecraft. I like that. If I had to narrow it down to one thing, I am probably agreeing with you that it's the armor trims. Not so much that it adds an aesthetic for me. I'm not sure whether I'll use an armor trim or not because I like to use like the minimalist armor mod so I can actually see my skin. But I like the idea of it being a challenge to go and get them all. I like that because, I like with Minecraft, I just don't like doing a standard like hardcore series or a standard video series. I like to put a challenge onto it. And I think that is actually for a single video, go get all the armor trims, I think is a marvelous one, especially if you try to do it in hardcore. Because some of the places you got to go, they're not the easiest.
Oh, definitely. With especially with the rarest one, the rarest armor trim, the Ward armor trim is a 1% chance drop in a chest. I think it's in any of the chests of the ancient cities. Still, you're probably going to have to search a couple cities just to find it.
And then plus, obviously, you've got netherite armor is now going to be harder to create because you need the smithing template to be able to update it. I actually like that.
Yeah, so do I.
I like that.
When I heard about that, there were people that griped about it, but I think it's really smart and it makes diamonds valuable again.
It actually, yes, correct. It does give diamonds a much bigger reason because really diamonds, you technically, unless you're playing on a server where diamonds are the currency, like Interrealms, they don't really serve a purpose. And you don't really need to go mining for them, really, because if you get a good villager set up, you just can go buy them for like 1 emerald each, and you don't need to go diamond mining. So this, yes, again, is bringing something that's really not that valuable a resource to a bigger need, but also getting back into the bastions to find these things. Because again, bastions is one of those things is once you've raided 1 or 2, why are you going to them?
Oh, and something that we really haven't talked about is the new structure that was added, the trailways.
I have not come across one yet in my travels, to be honest, but they look interesting.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's the way the whole change from shards to sherds came about because of that. And archaeologists reviewed or looked at the upcoming update and said they liked what they were doing, but they said their proper name is sherds, which okay,
so be it. we can adjust to that. But I think those trail ruins are actually going to be one of the harder things to find because from what I understand, you can only spot like 1 or 2, maybe 3 blocks poking up out of the ground in certain biomes that I'm sure going to be very hard to miss, particularly me. I can't even find villages half the time when they're like 3 blocks in that direction. Trying to find 3 blocks in a random forest, good luck.
Right, and my fear with those is I'm going to go in gung-ho and start digging away and accidentally dig up a piece of suspicious gravel and miss out the chance to get template or some the random loot that you get there.
I've got to admit, I am looking forward to finding my first one of those because I am looking forward to actually excavating it to see what this thing actually looks like.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And again, good on the developers for making it a feature that's actually interesting to give a go to. If it had been just the suspicious sand and the suspicious gravel in these things, it would have, I'm sure, got old really quickly. But the fact that they've added in this new structure, I think it's a great move.
It has turned into more than I expected. When they first, right after the Minecraft Live, they started releasing little tidbits in there, here and there. At first I thought, these are just a bunch of random things, and it didn't feel like it had any clear direction at first. But as we got the snapshots, as more things were revealed, it all started to gel and make sense. Now, we had our own theories, our own guesses on what this was going to be. And I think at one point I had said this was going to be the expression and exploration update. But, Mojang never does what we think they're going to do. And but they still used alliteration, trails and tales. So I guess I was partly right.
The general vibe of thought was right. It was spot on.
Yes.
So good job.
But if you would like to comment, you can always find us on the interimsSMP.com website, and as well as our Gmail, MinecraftLabPodcast@gmail.com, or on Twitter at MC_lab podcast.
Or you can head over to the Interrealms Discord, where we are all very active. and leave your thoughts there as well. I'm sure there'll be a link below in the description.
And as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave us comments. Make sure you click the thumbs up and give us a like.
With that in mind, once again, it's been a pleasure. And I guess I'll see you out there on the trails for some tales. Okay.
I don't know how to feel about that, but okay.
Oh, no, I'm just trying anything because we are sucky at this.
I know. We'll get it someday.
Maybe.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Make fun of my exits. Wow.
I'm sorry. I said for some tails. I'm like,
Oh, I didn't think of it like that. Well, I was just thinking it nice, and normally you've just taken it a whole different direction.
well,
It's usually me doing that.
I know.